here I am at our kitchen sink, our prep area sink. You can see that I've got my rhubarb, I've got a bit of an assembly line, I've got my knife and cutting board, then got a colander, and I've got a large pan. I'm going to be making a big batch of rhubarb sauce, which I can then either can or freeze dry or use for rhubarb crumble. I'll talk about some of the other things in a minute that we've also done with our rhubarb. Now you can kind of just watch and see how I prep the rhubarb for rhubarb sauce. When I cut them into about 1 to 1.5 inch pieces. And I just go down the whole stalk, cut it into the pieces to be able to ideally, not have the ribs, fibrous ribs. And then put it into my colander for rinsing off before I put it into the bowl. Now with the ends, you'd seen earlier that the ends that I took off near the crown, they looked kind of knobbly. I don't put that into the sauce. I just discard that. It'll go into our compost bin in here and go back out. This is going to take me just a bit because, of course, I'm doing it all the time, and I've got 45 to do. So we'll come back in a minute or two when this is all done, and I'll show you the next step of rinsing the rhubarb. Just a bit of a tip for you: if you keep your knife at an angle, you'll see here that it then cuts the pieces at an angle, but you don't get as much of the stringiness as you might otherwise. This is one of those times when I wish I had smell-o-vision, because my goodness, the rhubarb smells so good and fresh. I mean, it should. It's only an hour old. Maybe just over halfway through. This is what my colander is looking like at the moment. And I'm just going to rinse that and pop it into the pot. At the moment, the camera is sitting in the sink and I don't want to get it all wet. So give me a second and I'll show it to you once it's rinsed and put in the pot. So I've just let it drain a little bit in the colander, in the sink, and now I'll just pour it into my pot. And there we go. I'll come back in a minute and show you the rest. So I've come into the kitchen and you can see that after rinsing, I've put about 1 inch of water into the bottom of the pan, and that doesn't cover I don't want to cover the rhubarb because I'm going to be trying to cook and steam it down and thicken it up, but I just wanted you to see that it's about 1 inch of water at the bottom of the pan, just so that the rhubarb doesn't burn to the bottom. So I'm going to put that on to steam. So here it is on the steamer. I've got it on a New Wave convection oven at 275, which is the medium setting on the induction hob. So we'll let that boil and cook away until it is cooked down. And I do have the lid on so that all the water doesn't evaporate. When we come back, I will add sugar and spices and use the immersion blender when it's tender to get it put into a sauce. And I'll show you that when I come back to do that. This will probably boil. I will time it. I usually don't. I just want it until the rhubarb pieces are fork tender. I want to boil it until then, just on a low simmer, low boil. And I think it's going to probably be about 15-20 minutes. I'll come back in about 15 or 20 minutes to check on it. So while we're waiting for the rhubarb to steam and boil on the stove on the induction hob, I thought I'd take a minute to show you one of the ways that we preserved rhubarb last year. It looks unassuming. It probably doesn't look terribly appealing, but this is rhubarb that has been infused into gin. So what you have in terms of the liquid in that is rhubarb gin. Now we have, it was a lot fuller. You can kind of see a line here. I think our gin line was ultimately up to about there. We had a liter of gin and we put it into this plastic tub, and it infused for about 6 weeks, and then we decanted it for Christmas. And we had rhubarb gin liqueur then that we were able to drink at Christmas time. And so this is just the remaining, and it's just, you know, further infusing into the gin. And we can use this rhubarb, we could take this rhubarb out and kind of strain it and be able to use the rhubarb then in rhubarb crumbles. It's perfectly preserved because it's preserved in the alcohol. One of the other ways that we've preserved our rhubarb is in these Mylar bags. It is freeze-dried rhubarb sauce. So you can see here from July of last year, a little pack of the rhubarb sauce that we freeze-dried, and we just freeze-dried them in squares. You can just take a couple of squares and rehydrate them or put them into a rhubarb crumble when I'm ready. Here's some rhubarb sauce that I preserved last year. You can see it down in the Mylar bag. If I take it out, you can see there's the rhubarb sauce. And this is, you can eat it just like this if you want. So rhubarb sauce squares is a great way, it's a great snack, a great way to eat rhubarb sauce during the winter. Okay, I've been cooking for about 10 minutes and I just came down in to check on it, and I can see that it's bubbling away. I'm just going to use a spatula here. Sorry if we get steamed up. You can see it in here that it is beyond the steam. Sorry about the steam. It looks as if it is all boiled up. It has gone pretty far. So I'm going to turn down my heat to 175 so that it reduces. It's not burnt to the bottom at all. Oh, it's beautiful stuff. You can see there, it is all cooked out, cooked down. Oh, it's beautiful. Sorry about the steam. All I'm going to do now is add sugar and some other spices. Now, I don't do a lot of measuring when I do sugar and spices. So I'm just going to eyeball my sugar and spices for you. I've got about left in the pot here. I've got about a cup and a half of sugar. I'm going to start by adding that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla, not vinegar. So I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla. We've got this vanilla here. And I'm just going to add about a teaspoon, not very much because it's very potent stuff. I'm also going to add a bit of nutmeg. You could add cinnamon. I'm not going to add cinnamon because we have a dear friend at church who's allergic to cinnamon, and I don't know if she may end up getting some of this at some point, so I don't want to put any cinnamon into it. And with the vanilla, you don't need vanilla and cinnamon necessarily. So now it's just going to be a matter of taste testing to see how it is, and I think I'm going to need some more I'm just going to taste test it here. I'm probably going to need more sugar. It's very hot. Yeah, I definitely need sugar. I'm also going to add a little bit of lemon juice to the mix. Oh, yummy. Clean off my spoonful the next time. Give me just a second to get some of your other ingredients. So I'm just going to add 4 cups of sugar, more or less. That will give me about 5 cups of sugar in total. Remember that I had about 45 stalks of rhubarb when I started. So I didn't weigh or measure that. I'm just going by the numbers. It's a very forgiving recipe. It's mainly just to taste, and I prefer a sweeter sauce. That a mix around. Oh, I'm also going to add some lemon juice. I don't have fresh squeezed. I'm just going to use real lemon. I added about 2 tablespoons. And we'll give that a taste and see how that does. I'm just mixing this to get the sugar dissolved in the sauce. Here you can see the sauce. I'm just working to get the sugar stirred in and dissolved. So far I have added 5 cups of sugar and some nutmeg and some vanilla and the lemon juice. I see here that I've got a little bit of my crown. Oh, I guess there's a few pieces in here that I might decide to do something with. It really depends on how much bite or chew you want with your sauce, as to whether you bother with an immersion blender at this stage or not. I'm just going to give it a taste test. It is hot, so be very careful. Well, with all that sugar added, it's very good. And the lemon juice brightened it up real well. Oh, I think that's good to go. Now, this could, at this stage, could be made into rhubarb jam. I suppose you could strain it and make a rhubarb jelly and a rhubarb sauce from the juice that would come off. You could just keep this and water bath can it as an ice cream topping. That would be very nice, rhubarb ice cream topping. You could make it into rhubarb crumble, put it in a pan, add some crumble and make a rhubarb crumble. It really is, it can just be, the sauce can be the foundation for any other recipe you really want to make. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that this video has found you well. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.